Time is now 6:30. I said 18:30. Let my military out. I'm Chairman Mike Curry, and I'd like to call this Board of Selectmen workshop to order on this 8th day of January 2020. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I forgot the pledge. Mr. Chairman, I would like to know if we could have a moment of silence for Mr. Dennis, who passed away on December 31st, who was a town leader and also a Narragansett Regional school teacher.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Holly, if you could make, have that reflected in the minutes, that would be great. Okay, before we begin, I'd like to state for the record that the entire proceeding this evening, except any executive sessions which we do not have any plans for, are being recorded for both TCTV, Cable Station 8, and the TCTV YouTube channel. Therefore, there is no need for additional recording, and if you do feel so, just please let us know. As always, our agenda for this evening has been set no later than 48 hours out by law and is publicly available at our official source for town information, templetonma.gov. I would also remind all citizens of our 4 villages to sign up for or register for emergency updates using the Code Red system. It's on the left-hand side down at the bottom of the screen to click on it and follow the instructions. Although I have the discretion as chairperson to add and remove from the agenda, it has been set to allow for time, personnel resources, and public awareness. I reserve the right to move the agenda items around to best fit our business and our guests. Thank you. Okay, this evening, Carter, you want to start off with special town council?
Mr. Chairman, we had a call earlier today, and they will not be able to be with us this evening, so I would ask that the board move to Ms. Prime and item B.
Absolutely. Jackie.
Hi.
Good evening. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So as you know, the Senior Services Department provides Meals on Wheels in addition to a ride service, which we partner with MART for. And they're both very important services that we don't want to lose. And as you know, in recent years, when budget cuts sort of loom, those are sometimes the things that appear to be threatened. So we decided to try to search for alternate ways to provide these services. And in reaching out to some of our neighboring communities, we learned about GAAMHA and all the wonderful assistance that they provide for transportation, particularly in our case. So I asked them to come and give you a brief presentation.
Sure.
About partnering with us to deliver those services.
Great.
So this is Tracy Hutchinson and Jack Tomzik.
Hi, Tracy. Hi,
from
Jack.
GAAMHA. So you guys want to come up here?
I'm going to hand these out to you guys. These are just the slides that we're going over.
Oh, okay. No, perfect.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Steve, did you have public comment tonight? You did? All right. We'll take care of the guests, but I didn't forget it.
I don't mind.
I won't.
There's nobody here, so
I didn't forget about you.
I understand.
All right.
Well, thank you for taking the time to
Of course.
hear from us. So I'm just going to do a quick service overview of what we do and then what we can do for you. The mission of GAAMHA is to provide support, training, avenues of employment, treatment, and personalized opportunities to individuals with disabilities and substance use disorders, and to also offer quality transportation services to the communities that we serve. GAAMHA overall has 4 different programs. We have our Day in Employment Services, where we provide supports to individuals with developmental disabilities, in-site and off-site, and we're located in Gardner and in Orange, so we have 2 locations. We also have a substance use disorder services, which includes a residential treatment program consisting of 27 beds, 2 men's transitional supportive houses, 2 women's supportive houses, 1 in Gardner, 1 in Greenfield, recovery coaching services, and most recently was awarded a contract for a peer recovery center, which we are working with Alyssa's Place in Gardner. They'll operate it. And as we have our transportation services, so we bring individuals with developmental disabilities to day programs, whether it's at our locations or if it's in other locations, we do contract with Mark to do that, as well as non-emergency medical transportation services. And we do have a social enterprise, Coleman Assembly and Packaging, where we employ
Oh, cool.
the people
Yep.
that we serve, whether they have a substance use disorder or if they are an individual with a developmental disability.
Where is that out of?
That is right out of our main location
okay.
in Gardner.
They actually send a crew out to where I volunteer up in Orange at the Community Clothing Center once a week, sometimes twice a week.
Hazel's,
Yes,
yes.
great people. They're fun to work with.
You know, so how can we assist you? So I'm gonna let Jack talk about the transportation because he is our transportation supervisor.
Great.
Thank you for the intro. Yeah, I'm Jack. My name is Jack Tomzik. I run the transportation department over at GAAMHA. So obviously, I serve our day program and things like that. But we also assist. We work with MART, FRTA, the regional transit authorities, and the main purpose is usually medical appointments. So obviously, the seniors that in the communities surrounding us. I believe it's kind of an underserved population. They definitely, just don't have the means to get back and forth to these appointments, considering most of the time they are in cities that are not, close, whether they're going to Worcester, Fitchburg, Leominster, the main hospitals. So that's one of the larger things we do. So I work with the RTAs. I work with different brokers. The transportation system as a whole, this is just speaking specifically to the seniors, the transportation system as a whole goes through a brokerage system. So when they contact their insurance company, the brokers will reach out to me to get it set up. They are more than welcome to suggest to the insurance companies, I've heard of this company, GAAMHA Inc., they're in Gardner.
Okay.
We know they serve our area. Is it a possibility? It happens all the time, and the brokerage company will call me and say, hey, we have so-and-so, this is the trip, and I try to accept them with our availability.
Okay.
And usually this area is the area we serve the most. I can take most trips that they would need to get back and forth. With that, we also do trips that necessarily wouldn't be considered medical in nature. So whether it's social visits, whether they're going to visit family on holidays.
Shopping.
Yeah, shopping, anything recreational really. We do obviously trips to the airport as well for travel. And then once again, this transportation is, all inclusive. So whether it's, handicap accessible, whether they just need assistance with a walker and a cane, or whether they're in a wheelchair, we have lifts to secure them and transport them in a chair as well. Basically can handle any transportation we need for the kind of stuff that you guys would need for senior citizens in the community that wouldn't be able to transport themselves.
We also our developmental day services does do Meals on Wheels. So right now, we do Gardner and Ashburnham Monday through Friday, and we have it on our schedule from 10 to 2 because because we have so many vans, we have 26 vans?
Yeah,
25 vans? That our staff can take our vans with the individuals and go get the meals and deliver them to the families.
You have more flexibility to do that. Yeah.
We do,
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
quite a fleet.
That's great.
And
Is
we
the
also.
fleet, is the fleet primarily here, or is it like split between Orange and Gardner, or is it like, do you like put them in regional spots?
They have 2 vans in Orange,
Okay.
and then the rest of the vans are at our location.
Okay.
And then we do Fitchburg also
Hmm.
on Mondays. So we will go a distance.
Mm-hmm.
And if the one great thing that I've always said, even when we try to find group employment for our individuals, is if somebody calls out sick, that doesn't mean that we don't go. It means we have another individual that has the opportunity to go. We also do CACs and serving meals and stocking the shelves. So we do the Gardner twice a month, and on Thursdays. And Winchendon, we do Mondays and Thursdays from 10 to 12. So we,
Do you
Available.
provide the transportation to like pack the pantry or, okay,
yes.
yep.
So it ends up benefiting a number of people, besides benefiting
Yeah,
you.
it sounds like it.
It benefits the seniors because now they have a nutritious meal that they may otherwise go without. It budget savings for yourselves. And for our individuals, it's the opportunity to be out and be in the community, accepted by others, and also they learn skills, social skills. They can work on their anxiety. For years, they were in a sheltered workshop and segregated from the public. So when they get out, they're not quite sure how to handle talking to somebody, introducing themselves. But we do have some that are very outgoing and will tell you their whole entire life story.
Yeah,
But it gives everybody that opportunity, and seniors get the opportunity to interact with somebody different, and if something doesn't seem right with that person, they're not, maybe they're lethargic, but they haven't been in the past, they can report back, we delivered Mr. Smith's dinner, and he seemed really tired.
Yeah,
They
like
can make that
yeah.
comment back.
another pair of eyes out there.
So, does anybody have any questions for us?
I've got one obvious question. So I think I either was told or read someplace, if there's one word inside a sentence that you don't understand, you're not gonna get the sentence, you're not gonna get the paragraph or otherwise. Can you tell me what GAAMHA stands for?
I was gonna ask that.
GAAMHA is GAAMHA.
Okay.
In the past, we changed our name in 1999 to just GAAMHA, but it used to stand for Gardner Athol Area Mental Health Association.
Okay, perfect.
Now answer the phone. Hello, this is.
Yep.
But we also had it listed out that way, and people would call us and say, yes, my daughter is suicidal, and we'd like to get her in for an appointment, and that's not what we did.
Right.
When we first started, we were actually on the grounds of the correctional facility in
Yeah.
Gardner. And it was the state hospital.
Right.
And when the state hospital shut down, we moved out. North Central and GAAMHA actually were all one at one point. And when they moved out, we separated. So a lot of people still called us
Yeah.
for counseling appointments, which isn't
That's interesting.
our niche.
Well, I mean, thank you for clearing that up, because it also really, now not only do I understand the sentence, but I understand the context of your mission and the dedication, so it's not like a company that comes in from a big city or something like that and says, we're here to make some money. No, you're invested in the community, and it says that in your name. To me, that's what I see now.
Yes.
So that's really good. Thank you for clearing that up.
We've been in existence for 52 years.
Yeah.
A lot of people
You
don't
know,
even
you know
hear
it
about us.
until you need to know what it is. You see it and you hear about it, but you don't know what it's for or how it impacts the community. So 52 years, congrats, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, other than my intensely
Can
easy
I
question.
Forgive the ignorance of this question, but I understand that some of the rides are paid for by insurance, but how are the other rides paid for?
So the other rides, I really
Like the recreational and,
The recreational rides would be, we have our set rates. We charge basically what the state sets or the regional transit authority sets. Nothing crazy, and we just charge those rates if someone was looking to do like a mall trip. Say like the senior center, if they all wanted to get together, they all wanted to go to the mall, or they all wanted to go to Walmart and get all their shopping done together and do something like that.
okay.
I would just set it up like that. It's a base dispatch fee and just a small mileage fee per
Okay.
mile, dollar amount per mile, and then just that's how I would set it up like that.
Okay, thank you.
Do we pay for that, or does the town senior services pay for that?
Depends
or
what your,
whatever?
I suppose it would be.
individual?
We currently have a wide variety of offerings, medical, shopping, other kinds
Right,
of
we have that.
appointments.
So I just wanted to see.
There are challenges with those that we'll talk about when we do a quick review of the FY '21 budget. And one of the potential, and that is the trickiest part, were we to partner. I think that that's the trickier part of it. The Meals on Wheels is clean, you know. We stop, we don't buy a new van, we stop spending $10,000 a year. Did I tell you that we keep all that? That's the clean part. But the medical insurance companies actually pay for some of these transports. The others are paid for by the MARC grant, which we could figure out how to move some of that and extricate ourselves from dispatching, from bookkeeping. That is the messier part. But yeah, we provide all those services, and they're challenging. We get one person that maybe needs to go to Boston.
Right.
Well, you know, Winchendon had a person that needed to go to Boston. We don't know about it because Winchendon dispatches and we dispatch. It's one of the reasons we're trying to push for a centralized dispatch. These were all set up as individual silos at every
Right.
council on aging. That's not a model I've seen elsewhere in the state. I've seen collaboratives, Southern Berkshire, and the like. But yeah, we do all those things now.
And
So
if I could-
GAAMHA would provide dispatch.
Yeah, exactly. And
Is that, if I'm hearing you
A
correctly?
possibility. That is the messy piece that we'd have to really spend some time working
Yeah.
through.
Oh,
And
okay.
to speak to that, what I would say is, you know, the transportation aspect, there are a lot of day programs, there's a lot of different day programs. Not all of them have their own transportation department in it. And I mean, it's something that I think we do really well. We really champion customer service. I've gotten, you know, rave reviews. I've only been here for about 7 months now. People have said, you know, we've always loved working with GAAMHA, best company we've worked for. They shy away from other companies because of negative experiences, and they really do suggest us over. And it's something we really hold as a core competency. So whereas, you know, it might be difficult for you guys to run in silos, different dispatches, and you're paying for wages and you're paying for van and vehicle maintenance, by outsourcing that onto us, obviously, you know, we would receive the payment, but you guys lose the headache of where now when you're trying to plan a trip and you're trying to get people to appointments, you just pick up the phone, it's a phone call, you set it up, it gets approved, and other than that, it's off the table and it's all set. So when you're booking trips like that, I mean,
Okay.
it's basically like, you know, calling a cab. That's pretty simplifying it, but you know what I mean.
Oversimplified.
Very oversimplified, but you know, it is calling and setting up a trip, and but other than that, you know, that's it. And the cost is the cost. You know, there's no fear of overrunning because the van breaks down or because there was an accident, and now you have to pay insurance and the whole thing. Depending, I don't know what costs you carry right now for your transportation, but
Okay.
it eliminates a lot of those. It eliminates a lot of the you know, variable aspect of it.
Right.
You guys would kind of just know what you're going to spend, and you know, if you can't afford to do as many trips, then you know what you can afford, and
Right.
you'll only plan for those costs, and other than that, you don't have to worry about it.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Question?
Thank you, Carter.
They will, in one form or another, definitely be part of the February budget submission, and we wanted to bring them in tonight to introduce them, so that we weren't just sort of springing it on you in late
Yeah.
February, to give you a chance to hear from them, meet them, go on their website, stroll around it, or I say scroll around it, I guess, rather than stroll, but
Is your website on here?
Yes, the last page.
Yep.
We do have
get
our
us any
contact.
questions that you might have, and then Jackie and I can get you the answers, so that when you do see them as part of the budget,
Oh,
you have a
okay,
little
thank
bit
you,
better
Julie.
sense of
My eyes are
how
having
it
a
came to
problem
be and
today.
who they
Got a
are.
really bad headache.
Great, yeah, I think that adding that capability is, I mean, just, there's a lot of different services to add into it. And I like that, the dispatching piece to say your special populations, your people that might need to go to Boston or something like that, and you can wind up maximizing if you wind up having other customers that need to do that, and so, it's great.
And that's the one thing we always had a problem with MART, is if they had a mass health person that was going to Boston, Nobody else could ride on that van unless the other person authorized it with Mark. So even Mark could have two people to go to the same location in Boston, but if the other one didn't want to ride with the other person,
No, wow.
then it did not happen. You actually sent two vans,
Oh,
which
I
is
wasn't aware of that.
very costly to them. It's
Crazy.
a second person on a vehicle, I think there's $8. If a senior wanted to bring their daughter as somebody to help them at their
Sure,
appointment,
of course.
we do not charge for that.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. That's good to know.
Good to know.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, Jackie. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Have a good night.
Yeah, thank you
Have
guys.
a great night.
Nice
Yeah,
presentation.
nice to meet you guys.
Thank you for the presentation as
Very
well.
nice.
Welcome.
Steve, would you like to go?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know, well, I didn't know what the frame was.
Hi, Steve. What's on your mind tonight?
Well, I'm here because I have to be.
Well, you're not on my
Steve
agenda.
Drury, 18 Drury Lane, and I'm here to inform you of that because you're a new board, and some of you might not know that for many a year, we've been trying to get you to do your bylaws.
Okay.
An attorney that I talked to yesterday that has a case on the particulars of the across the street from my house seems to think that we can bring suit against the owner of, due to the property being completely full of campers and cars and so forth. However, the town of Templeton, and this is to inform you, town of Templeton in 2008 did a court case. And the court case I couldn't get, so I had to go get it. It's right here. And the court case basically was against my cousin and my uncle for having all the vehicles on the property. Now, this court case particular goes against the map, the law, or the recordings of the map. So, in case the name changes, because that's what they do. They bring the court case, you bring the court case against the people, and then they go and quiet claim the property over to somebody else. And there's a history of this all the way back to, I want to say 1970. Flip, flip, flop, flip, back, back, flip, flop, back, back. Technically, anyone can do that, but actually, it's called illegal conveyance. It's criminal when there are indebted people involved. And unless those people come forward in a court of law, they get away with it because the recording office in Worcester only records things. They don't enforce anything. And lots of people think that, when you flip your property over, that, it's not yours until you go down to the, the registry of deeds and record it. That's not true. You could keep that recording in your safe and never tell anybody. And that's what's been going on. And when you bring a court case against somebody, and then they expose the fact that the property's been flipped over to somebody else, that whole court case just dissolves. And that's what's been going on. So what is the truth here is that Larry, the last building inspector, actually got a court order from a verified complaint. Now, if you want this stuff after I'm done, I'll make sure you get a copy of it. But I haven't put copies out because I don't know how you're going to react to this, okay? Because I know there's a pending case, but it's got nothing to do with me.
That's
And
the
I don't
first thing
want
I
to
thought
sue
of.
the town. I've been here several times, even gone to the town meeting and said, if you would just go and, put a fine against the particular violations, you would have owned the property by now, and plus it'd be maybe if they wanted to keep it, they'd owe you $100,000. Because, I mean, this goes all the way back to 2010.
Okay, now I'm following you.
Okay. So, now, what's interesting about this is that when they also recorded the court orders, they changed the property number,
Okay,
which
that
was
sounds familiar.
858, but it's not, it's 32 Drury Lane. And then they actually put a road in on the other side of the property. And of course, my cousin is sleeping in the trailer, and, you know, and it's constantly going back to the Board of Health, constantly going there.
Yep, I'm aware of that.
Trying to tell him, you know, and they try to say, well, prove that he lives there.
Okay,
You know, prove it. Well, what do you prove? I mean, we prove the fact that there's a electrical pole that is powering the trailer, okay? And that's been going on, that'd be a temporary pole, and it violates the policies of the town of Templeton,
yep,
okay? Because, you know, there's supposed to be plugs. These plugs not supposed to go, in other words, into the trailer. And the trailer's not supposed to be there in the first place because it was actually cited in the law
yeah.
that there
You're
was.
losing me. I think Julie has a question for you. Did you have a question?
I don't have a question for him, I just have a question in general.
Okay,
This is not a business meeting, are you well aware of that? This
I'm
is
not-
a
I'm
workshop for
I'm
the
not
Board of
making business.
Selectmen.
This ain't business.
So I'm just a little confused as to, we don't normally take public
that's just the
anything.
way that I've done it since I
But
was
if you
chair.
choosing to do
Yep,
that,
I
I
am.
just want you to be
Okay.
aware, this is not a business meeting. I mean, we can certainly hear you
I'm
out.
talking,
Okay.
let me say
I'm
this.
Oh, I
just-
don't
you're
need any more
losing me on the
background. Just
whole-
keep going forward.
Right.
Keep going forward,
Yeah,
Steve. I want to
this is-
make sure that you get to your
Okay.
point.
I just wanted to
Yep.
clarification on that. Normally, the workshops are
Yep.
not run like this, so I was a little
All right, so
confused, but I'm on the right page.
mobile home is actually attempted in the court order. You actually have a court order, you have a court order that says that you can go onto the property and remove everything at cost, and then charge them to remove it all. They were supposed to remove things at $100 a day, every violation. It's in the court order.
Okay.
These court orders, by the way, you have them, Templeton Building Commissioner, you have all this stuff. If you want to write this down, the number is 08CV00724. These court orders have never been amended, and they're still present. So it's your responsibility, yes.
Please.
2008, is that still valid?
I don't know, I want them to get to the end, and then I figured we could
Yeah.
ask questions.
It
Or He's
doesn't-
presenting to us, I assume at some point you'll give us questions or ask for
Sure.
us to go a certain way.
Sure, I'm trying to inform
I
you.
want you to you don't take up my whole meeting, please.
Okay,
I'll give you some latitude, but please don't take up my whole meeting.
I didn't plan to.
Okay,
But you
good.
know, if I don't tell you these things, right,
Okay.
I'm just gonna have to come back and do it again.
I understand.
It's public
Okay.
record, though.
And so
Correct?
it's
This
really
is all
important.
public record, though, correct? So if we wanted to do our homework on this particular,
No, this isn't public records,
situation.
ma'am. No. No, I'm coming before you to let you know that you have a court order
we are, well
to act, okay? And I've been complaining and you haven't acted, okay? And I'm letting you know, all right, that it's your responsibility to act on these, because the judge has already said you can do this, okay?
Okay.
And this is the removal of the abode, trailers, all that stuff.
Okay.
Just to give you a general idea of what we're looking at. The particular laws that are cited in those laws say that it's a bylaw that says 150 feet from this road, 150 feet from this road, 50 or so feet this way and this way. So it basically would eliminate everything that's in that area, because the property's only 400 feet long-wise, and then it's a parallelogram.
Yep.
And, but what it looks like, it's just hell. I mean,
I've seen it.
that's it.
Yep.
Okay?
drive by it every day.
Okay. And, of course, the trailer is condemnable, and they won't condemn it. And yet there's no water and no septic, okay? And that's another picture. And I have several pictures, and they, of course, he's also digging up the whole time, because I'm complaining, he's digging up my water line. He's taking off all that dirt that used to be all the way out here, cleaning the rocks out, and so that's another problem. But that's the trailer that he's actually staying in. And, I wanna liberate him, because, no one should have to live in that little trailer. And it's not just that, it's the fact, that I have to live with it. External obsolescence of all this stuff. And I'm sick of it, and I'm not gonna take it anymore. And now that I'm in control,
Okay.
we're going to come before you, like I am doing, letting you know. You've all got notice now what we're talking about. You know what we're talking about. We want you to, act. You have no reason not to act, okay?
Yeah.
None at all. If you go and look these up, you can go to your attorney, and you have every right to go down there. And they gave 14 days, right? I don't even think you should do that, because it was constantly in contempt. Every single one of these orders were faced in contempt, and even the ones that are going on today were issued into other people's names, and they flip-flopped the paperwork and the titles and so forth, and now they're starting that case completely all over again. So you're spending money on that case from the beginning again, all right? And it's been going on for 3 years, when you all had the right to just go down and remove everything at cost. And this is what I tried to tell you, a long time ago. And so that's what I'm here to do. I'm informing you, of please act as your board, and what you do is you tell your Board of Health to go down and cite them. You tell your zoning board, because this zoning has to be in compliance. You tell him to go act and cite everything there, however you want to do it, and you can give him all the time you want, but do it right away, because I'm gonna start doing what I gotta do.
Okay.
I'm gonna continue, okay? And I don't wanna do anything to stop the town, to cost the town. I didn't sue you, but I am bringing the information, and you already spent
Yep.
all the money, so I don't
You're-
understand why you won't do it.
Yep, I can see you're upset and you're frustrated within the process.
Well, I'm only frustrated to the fact that I have to keep filing for external obsolescence, and the town comes into my house saying, and it's an external thing, and I go, why do you have to come into the internal thing? But no, it's the external thing, but they don't want me to file the external thing. Of course, they also say, they brought it down from 34%, and it's well worth more than that, because it's a neighborhood, external obsolescence is a neighborhood thing. Then he brought it to 20%, never gave me an excuse, and brought it now to 10%. And I just want to say this about that. If I was to go to tax court, okay, and deliberate what you evaluate my property for, I would only get that deliberation or determination for 1 year. And then it would be, the next year, you would either agree with it, and then it starts all over again. You can up it, down it, do whatever you want. It's basically insane to do any of that, as far as I'm concerned. Because if we don't build anything more in the house, it doesn't really matter, because you guys refer it to other people's houses. But what you're not doing is you're not taxing this property. You're not acknowledging this external obsolescence. You're not doing anything, and I have to live in this. And I have to tell you, when they owned the property that Wilson sold me, 10 feet from my house, they put all that stuff right in front of my property, because I opened my mouth and told you people, help me. And I had to live with that for 10 years, and I couldn't even step on that because of someone else's land. But they never did anything about elbow room, 50%. So I think I've been very patient.
Yep, and I have something for that. So what I'd like to do for you, Steve, is you said you come in, you talk to the board, you go to town meeting and you talk to town meeting, which could be 50 people, it could be 400 people. What I think you need to do, or what I can do for you, and I'm telling you that I'll do it for you tonight, I will work with you, so you don't have to keep saying that you're getting upset talking to the board. So come to me, I will work with you on this. You don't have to just shout down the hall or anything like that. Have you worked with anyone on the board previously?
Actually, it'd be more
Detailed?
convenient I have a selectman that lives right next to me, but she can't do that because of the conflict
Yeah,
of
but
law.
I'm the one who's telling you
know,
I
you're
can
saying
do
that.
it for you.
I don't mind doing that, but I've already stated, it really takes the whole board right now.
I'll come back and I'll tell them I
All
think they
right.
trust me
All right,
for what I
This is what
can
we need to
do.
do, though. We need to tell the
I'm
board.
telling you what I'll do.
Oh,
I'm
I appreciate
pledging
that.
I'm giving you time to be able to
Okay.
do that.
But
But you're,
I'm not arguing with you.
all right, then
not.
I understand what you're going through now. And I understand all the stuff that you presented. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what else do you have to say to that? To say, great, I look forward to working with you,
I
Mike.
do. Yeah, I want to say it great, but I also want, I'm hesitant because, for me, this is a 20-year thing. I've been living with this for 20 years.
Okay.
It's completely ruined my whole entire family
Let's
situation.
take care
All I've
of it.
been
Let's
trying to
take care
do
of it before
was
it
have
turns into another
cleanness.
20 years. I'm only on, if I serve one term before the citizens say he's crazy, let's get rid of him, or, my God, he's a keeper, let's have him on a few times. I only have a short amount of time, so let's work
I
together.
appreciate the time that you gave me.
Okay.
Could I just say one more thing, though? Right, I just want to say to all of you,
Sure.
because you're all going to have to actually make an order to those two people that I just mentioned. The Board of Health lady, they have to actually go there and they have to visit.
You gotta let us worry about that.
Oh, I will.
Right.
I
But
will,
don't
but
tell us what the process is going to be. We will make sure that it's done properly, so we don't
Okay.
have to come back.
Oh, yeah, I want it proper.
I'll work with you, buddy.
I want it proper, legal. I wish it would have
He
happened
keeps me
a
legal.
long time ago.
Yep.
And it should have happened a long time ago, but, the
All right.
town was in debt,
Yep.
all this other stuff. But we waited long enough.
I knew a lot of the details, so to kind of paraphrase, you're upset, you're tired of waiting, and you want something done.
Please,
Okay.
yeah. And if you could just let me know when
will.
you want to talk to me.
I am sure we have his contact info.
You have my email, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you for listening to me.
All right.
I'm glad there wasn't a lot of people.
Steve, thank you.
Yep.
Is there any other public comment before we move back into the agenda? Okay.
I hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Oh, you're under the weather too?
Last
Oh, no.
steam.
Oh, okay. Good night, Mr. Joey. C, mission statement. Are you taking that one? Great. We have to listen. Sometimes we have to listen, and I think for that piece.
business meeting.
I know you've been dealing with it a long time, but that's how I'd like to deal with it. Hi.
Hi, how is everybody?
Great.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
2020. We made
Adam
it.
and I did the talk of the town, the state of the town the other day.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we're
Yes.
looking forward to.
I can't wait to watch it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sean did mention, I just chatted with him, that should be released Monday or Tuesday
Yep.
this week, so
Oh, good.
Well, I sat,
he's been working on it, so.
after I watched the news of what was going on in the Middle East, I saw that Marty was given his, Marty Walsh in Boston, and I said, we beat him. We beat the governor too, and the
Did.
president.
They didn't
All
know
right.
what to do. We did a great job. And can't wait to see it released and people in town will be able to
Absolutely.
watch it, and local access channel as well as YouTube.
Mhm.
Be a great opportunity for the people in town to tune in and see the state of the town. And
We tried to cut it to 20 minutes, and there was no
no,
way.
there was no way. A lot to cover.
I think people will be very interested in watching that, our chairman of the board and our assistant,
Yeah.
TA. I think
Oh,
that's
thank you.
a good thing.
Thank
I'm
you.
very excited about it.
Sean told us there might be a blooper reel. I don't know if that, I don't know if that's
just
gonna
started
happen.
laughing, the chair was
I don't know if
bouncing
that's
around
gonna
in
happen or not. But we had two, I don't know, is it false starts or holding? We had two false starts.
We had a couple penalties on the
funny.
ground, but we
Yep.
made it.
Oh, good for you guys.
Adam, you got mission statement.
Mission statement. So I'm here. I'm going back to the goal setting retreat back in September. I mean, I did receive some comments from members, and I know the chairman as well as a couple members mentioned that they want to finish the mission statement. This is something where I think between all of us we could come up with something simple, something more complex. I could draft something for you. it's all where the board wants to go. I'm not sure if they want to mention some key words like doing what's right, the public good, making the town of Templeton a better place each and every day, something to that effect. I'm open to any suggestions that you want to have in your mission statement, but I wanted to get your input before I sit there and I draft something up for you.
Okay.
If there's anything particular that stands out to each member here that they want to cover, because you're in the town, you know the people, you're out there, you're the face of the town. So I think it's something that we could work together on collaboratively to put together and have on our webpage. And
Transparency.
transparency. I like that word. Diane,
That's me.
got you.
Core values.
Core values. Okay.
That's for both us and the community. I
Well,
think
that's
reaching
good.
towards a common goal.
Public good or common goal?
I
Is it
don't.
interchangeable?
Yeah, I think that's interchangeable. I don't know how the board feels about that, but
What?
Public good.
public good or core values.
I think, I mean, if it's succinct.
Do you
it
think
makes
it's
sense.
succinct, or do you think it's not succinct?
Yeah, I mean, if like you read the mission statement for like IBM, you know, it should match the company that you're writing it for. If, you
I
know,
think that we have some core values that we adhere to for our community.
Right.
And
I
could
think
be,
we have some definite
So
core
there's a big
values
one
that
there,
we've adhered to.
community.
For our
Community.
and one of
community.
them could be for the public good,
I like that
the
one.
community.
I
You
mean, I
said-
like all your suggestions, don't get me wrong, but
I think we definitely have some, like I said, I think we have some core values that we adhere to.
Care.
Even though
Listen.
we don't really talk about them, we have them.
but I'm thinking
Each of
something,
us.
I think, I'm gonna try to tie something that's simple,
Right,
to the point, with the suggestions all of you mentioned, and then I could just have it come back to you for your business meeting. Is there anything else that,
Maybe take a look at, I mean, other towns.
yeah, definitely.
I think that would probably be a good,
I like to think we give everybody a voice. We wanna listen to everybody, give
Yeah, I mean,
everybody a
Steve
voice,
just
give
talked to us for a
everybody a
half hour.
fair shake.
Yep.
I think that you're very good about giving the public a voice here at each meeting, and that they are heard, and that you come back to them with answers.
right.
Taken seriously.
And they can click on our names on the website and get us
Right.
information, we get
Right.
back to them.
Right.
Yeah.
We've been good about that.
Absolutely, well beyond this board, the previous, and maybe even one before that. Well,
Not beyond me,
Okay.
thank you. I do get back to my
Buck
people.
stops, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know you get a lot of emails, and just a matter of fact
Yep.
of just all the emails we get that you're CC'd on, it's just
Right.
amazing. But I know you're very good at getting back to
Yeah,
people.
you are.
Sure.
You are too.
Succinct, I think a lot of good ones, I don't know if you heard me say caring or care, I mean,
Yeah, I did hear you say
Yeah.
care.
Caring and
Yeah.
community got,
yeah, I don't think
Transparency,
every
core
single
values.
department has some level,
yep.
whether they listen, Sheila in Veteran Services, community development for sure. It's, there's a lot of that.
Yeah,
There is.
I'm excited about it because I think that becomes like a bumper sticker that we can
Yeah.
use for not only our board, but for everybody. Everybody can use that to their advantage. Everybody can get behind that.
And then we could just put it up on our Facebook page too.
Sure.
Have it on our Facebook, have it up on our webpage, and it's something very simple that we can do once we come to agreement at the business meeting, and I'll be putting this together.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's what a lot of agencies, organizations, municipalities do. I don't think that it's, I think it's important to do. I don't think it's just lip service, because marketing can be a lot. If you have positive marketing and you're showcasing your strengths, like putting that in a mission statement, I think.
Problem solving.
Yeah, problem solving.
Problem solving.
Okay.
Great.
Having come through the crisis, when I first came on the board, and Julie too, I think that we've come a long way, and I think that having a mission statement really solidifies where we're at and where we want to go.
Oh, yeah.
And that just really having it be rock solid.
And it'll definitely come in front of this board for a vote. I'll come up with a draft one, and we could always
Yeah, we're gonna take a look at it.
take a look at it. Maybe just talk with you and have it approved and get it done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One last thought about it. Something that I will frequently do if we're talking in public or if talking about stuff that's coming to the board. We're a town, we're in a municipality of 4 villages.
Yes.
I was reminded of this because I sent a Christmas card to the past chair, and I put Turner Road, Templeton,
Oh.
with the right area code, and it came back from our own post office, undeliverable, because it
Yeah,
didn't say Baldwinville.
that.
And I'm like, ugh.
That.
But there's a huge sense of pride within these 4 villages, and I like to mention them all the time when we get together for stuff, but maybe that's something else that we capitalize, because it's inclusionary. I don't know how you do it. I mean, it becomes wordy when you're trying to put 4 of them in there. 2 of them are, 2 words.
It's like that show, 21 Words or Less.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know how we do that, but that's.
We could figure it out.
Yeah,
I think as a town too, we put people and our land over money and, over money.
Well, I think that goes to Diane's point
Recognizing
of
history too,
of
yeah. Yeah,
from where Templeton was to where Templeton is, I think has been significantly positive. And this is really just solidifying, something like the chairman mentioned, a marketable, but at the same time, something that everybody takes pride in the community. And it's finding that balance.
Yeah.
And at the same token, recognizing our 4 villages.
Well, I think that, and to that point, Terry, we've put services first.
Services first.
We've always put services first, and that goes to our community
Yeah.
and how we feel about our community, and that we've tried our best with our budget to do that.
I agree.
So, I mean, that means that we care. That goes to the caring of our community and how we feel about our people,
Yeah.
And your core values.
to our core values, right? I think that each one of us bring that to the table in our own respective ways.
And how you brought up problem solving.
Right.
Exciting. Great. Thank you, Adam.
You're welcome.
Moving on in our workshop agenda, we've got item 3D, is in Delta, policy for volunteered service award.
Adam, I'm gonna take that one
Okay.
and try to reduce it to a couple of simple decisions here. So the first that I want to revisit is how to adopt this. We can do it in one of 3 ways. The first is we could have a freestanding policy by itself. We'd have to flesh it out a little bit more.
Okay, I
The
understand.
second is we could make it part of the board's operating procedures.
Yep, I thought that was what you were gonna say next.
The third is we could actually have an article at the annual town meeting by which the town meeting votes on it and creates it, and maybe that creates a little more cachet and a little bit more special, but it does delay the first award by a year. So that's kind of the decision that we need tonight. The second piece that I want to make you aware of is when I get a chance to cool my heels tomorrow in Chelsea,
Yes. I can't
I've
believe
put
you got you all the
the
way up
town council on notice that in many communities prior to the lawsuit over how to do evaluations and what had to be done in public, the nominations would go to the chair, who would distribute them to the members, and the members would vote, and then the chairman would tell them what happened, and that kind of kept it secret. And special, and again, a little bit of mystique when it was
Yep.
presented at the town meeting. So what we've said to them is, okay, how do we sort through a process that would comply with the open meeting law and yet somehow let this be special and a surprise and,
Right.
you know, so we're gonna try to work through that tomorrow and make sure we work that, if it can be done,
Yeah.
into the final. But of those three ways of proceeding, we'd like to know which one you would like to use. So they're basically a standalone policy by itself, an amendment to your operating procedures, or a town meeting article which would formally establish this award by the meeting.
Yep. I see in the last paragraph here, it's not an incentive award, so it doesn't touch money.
No, this would be, as
Maybe town meeting
Adam's
doesn't
laid
have-
out for you, basically a presentation at the
Yep.
meeting. They'd get a plaque, you know, so we're some modest amount, 75, 80 bucks, you know, whatever a nice little plaque would cost. Then there would be a plaque here at Town Hall where each year,
Yeah.
as that person was, or the couple or the family or the organization or, you know, whoever the honoree was, each year as they were honored, we'd take it off or take it over to the engraving shop and they would just etch the name and the
Yep.
year. And that would then become kind of a permanent record,
Right.
year by year, as to who was awarded.
And usually when you get the plaque, they give you the nameplate to go along it, so it's included in the cost.
I understand what you're saying.
Mhm.
So, standalone, what?
I said I want to make a joke. No oil painting?
So,
That's funny.
not unless it's, if you're asking me to do it, it would have to be a paint by number set, I can tell you that. So the three choices are sort of a standalone policy, amendment of your operating procedures, or a formal vote of the town meeting to establish
I'd like an
the,
amendment to the operating procedures.
As would I.
Yeah.
Three for the operating
Three.
procedures.
We're good. Operating
I don't-
procedures.
Town meeting, I don't know.
okay,
They'll
I don't-
delay
I
it
don't,
too.
I don't think so. It's not tied to money,
Yeah.
you know, scope and purpose, that kind of thing.
that's all we needed to know for
As
tonight.
long as it's not tied
You
to
guys-
money, I think.
Yeah. Standalone what happens for standalone policies?
Probably the
Like
easiest.
policy book, like policy number
Yeah,
one dash
it,
111?
yeah, it becomes more prominent on the website as
I
opposed
agree.
to being part of the operating.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
part of our charge,
That's all.
so,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I would go with operating procedures and then however we can figure
So
out.
once we get some guidance from council, we'll
Yeah.
finalize this
Yeah.
thing.
Great,
Okay?
And we're
Great,
gonna
thank
miss a year, right? We can start right away.
correct.
Okay.
All right, Carter, we're up to the education
And I'm
escalator.
gonna turn this one over to Adam.
All right,
Yeah, this one, as you can see, it's a typo in my memo I noticed after the fact, but I was trying to get everything together because Holly had to get the agendas out, so. Because Escalator 1 is actually the total money above the prior year fiscal year budget.
Yep.
Not a percentage of
Okay.
budget, so that, take note of that. Then the Escalator 2, the Templeton's money above prior year fiscal year assessment. Escalator 3 is Templeton's money above prior year minimum local contribution. And then escalator number 4 is the Templeton money at 2.5%. As you know, our financial management policy calls for using net school spending. Net school spending is not minimum local contribution. Also, what we currently use is a 2.5% when we're doing the school budget. We want to finalize this in the sense of which escalator do you want us to choose? And whichever one this board chooses, we will do, fall in compliance with the financial management policy. We would have to amend that if you wanted to do a change from the net school spending. But with that, I think there's been a lot of discussion about this.
Yeah, it was
So I,
only last month, I think, that we took a little bit of time.
we did, and,
Yep.
and this right here lays it out all the numbers. You could see going back from fiscal year 2015 to fiscal year 2020, the percentages, you could see the years where our minimum local contribution, because this all ties back to the historical minimum local contribution anyways. And the minimum is what we have to give for them to get their state money. The minimum's probably the easiest for us to use in the sense of that's what we have to give for them to get their state money. The net school spending is a little bit more tricky because you have your historical minimum local or your minimum local contribution, plus your additional school dollars. And Templeton's been good in giving additional school dollars. Do you look at your total percentage above prior year fiscal year budget, just from fiscal year 19 to 20, we're talking 4.42%, and the average was 3%. So it's interesting to look at this, and just for your own purposes, to take in the information, and this didn't require you to go out and do your own research. I know Terry came in the office because she wanted a kind of a breakdown of this, and I know Jeff's been working on numbers too with the schools. So this kind of gives you an idea of where we're at, and to all the members, so that way we're relaying the same information to all 5 of you and the chairman, or including the chairman. So I guess, where do you want to go? It's my question. I mean, you set the policy, and we follow your direction on where you want to go.
Number 3,
You want to do the minimum local contribution?
well, in order for them to get their state money.
We have to do that. In our bylaw, though, it says that is a bylaw, I have it written down, that we have to do that, and then we also like to go, if possible, above, when possible, above our minimum local contribution. I'll see if I can find it.
I mean, the safest bet, it's up to you to go with it, but we do have to meet the minimum local contribution. So that's something that we could easily attain and comply with our policy. Does that mean we're going to do that? That's up to the board, ultimately. But I think it's something that's attainable each year. Anybody else?
I like the 2.5. Go with that. Escalator 4.
So Julie likes Escalator 4?
That's just, my thought on it, all of it.
Okay. Jeff, Terry, Chairman, Mr. Chairman?
Anything?
Julie, may I ask you a question, please? When you say, number 4, does that mean we meet the
Escalator 4.
minimum contribution and go above?
It's what we've always been doing.
It's what we've consistently.
We haven't been following the
looking at
policy,
those
but
numbers,
So we've.
and we have, if you look at the percentages they've received, they've never received the 2.5 that we start to work at. I think that their budget is sufficient, in my opinion, and I don't feel that we should go. Well, they're gonna get it anyway, basically, is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? In the end, they're gonna get the percentage that they need, obviously, from the other regulations, but the 2.5, we've worked at, because if you look at it, we offer the 2.5 and they get 5%.
and that's what we do right now
But you
anyways.
negotiate up and down, that's just how it goes.
But we wanted, because when Carter and I were looking at this, we said, we're not doing the net school spending right now. We're doing 2.5%. So we could do the minimum local contribution, we could do the 2.5%, but we need you to tell us what to do. So when we're doing the budget, we're doing it in compliance with the financial management
I
policy.
got that.
Well, we
Sorry, I
also-
don't mean to,
We get that.
If I may, but let me put this in perspective for you, okay? So let's say for a moment that you said, we're going to plan that our increase in assessment will reflect a 5-year trailing average of the manner in which our minimum local contribution has gone up. okay? 'Cause using a 5-year trailing average flattens out the high and the low points. So that's 4.63%. So that would mean that you would take the 4,621,299, which is your minimum local contribution in FY 2020, and that would become the opening offer to the school district of 6,682,836 plus $213,966.
Plus?
Plus.
Yeah, because it's a little bit over.
Because why?
It's a little bit over.
Well, we always give
Because if
them
you're doing the
additional-
trailing percentage is
So that
four
covers
point
it.
six three. And their minimum local contribution there was 4.42.
So that is, just so you understand how it would work. Okay, so and then next year, one more year would move, and that 5-year trailing average becomes something we don't know. Let's say it stays the 4.63 million. You would take the real-world minimum local contribution of this year, multiply it by .0463. You would add that to the total assessment, and that would become your budgetary projection for the school district.
Can I ask a question, please? So this year, did we budget the minimum local contribution? I'm trying to understand what happened. I know what happened this year with the state and what's going on, but, you know.
You, at the end of the day, it comes down to a total assessment. Yes, you must pay the minimum local
Right.
contribution. Yes, you must pay the transportation. So yes, every year you pay the minimum local contribution. Now, there may be a few years in which you're a few dollars off because the final minimum local contribution is not known sometimes at the time the budget is actually adopted. Sometimes it's not known until July. It's when the state adopts. So what happens is the school district simply washes out any variance with the additional money. In fact, this year, I think the minimum local contribution between the February and the July period did go up about $2,500, $3,000, something like that.
Was it?
Jeff might know the number off the top of his head, but I don't have it.
No, not tonight I don't, but,
But I just want to put it in perspective, that if that is the escalator you follow, that means we would be proposing to increase the school assessment next year by that $214,000.
Can we afford it?
We'll see when we get into the.
Can you afford it?
Well,
No.
these are
What can
plan,
we afford?
right. It's for
Thank
planning.
you,
so
Carter,
like
for your
what-
transparency.
Yeah, it's for
Well, we have
planning
to give the minimum
purposes.
local
They-
contribution.
They need us
We
to
have to
decide.
anyway, right.
So why would we say
You need to give
2.5%?
what's
That
something
doesn't
in
make
front
sense.
of them.
Yeah,
Sorry.
You have to have a starting point.
yeah.
And we're just picking a
You need a
process to
starting
get
point.
to that starting
Well,
point.
I'm still.
Either
So-
this, and the
It's
minimum
not-
local
We're
contribution,
not
which is
asking
probably
as a
gonna
budget
go up
question, we're asking for
a
planning
good number
purposes.
It'll go
this
up
year
every year.
because of the EQVs,
What is gonna be the
Right.
best for
between 8
planning
to 20%.
purposes
Right.
to deal with this?
So I want to try to address the question of you have to give the minimum local contribution. That's completely true. However, you don't have to give them $1 of additional. So what
That's right.
happens
That's
is,
completely true as
if you
well.
give them, a total increase, they have to play with the numbers. You say, we're going to give you 6 million, let me just use some simple numbers here.
Got it.
6.9 million. And the minimum local contribution goes to 5 million. So first they plug in the 5 million. Then they say, transportation's gonna be, just bear with me a minute here. Then they say, oh, transportation's gonna be $1 million. And then they say, so we take 7 million that you've given us, minus 5 million additional local or minimum local contribution, minus $1 million on transportation. Oop, now we know how much to plug in as additional money. It's $1 million. And at some point, yeah, that number keeps sliding down, and maybe you have to have an override to bulk it back up, and then you start this process again. But just because minimum local contribution goes up, in the example of 5 million goes up 400,000, you don't have to give them 400,000. Now, we don't have a control over what they assess us. The chair will report to you shortly on
Yep.
conversations with them. But in order to do a 5-year projection, we need to know what you want us to use as an escalator. And in order to do a budget, we start with 17 million in revenues, let's say, minus 7 for Narragansett, let's say, minus $1 million for Monty Tech. That tells me that I have $9 million for the town.
So what Julie's saying is 2.5% would cover the minimum local contribution?
She's talking about the budget. When we do the budget by the financial management policy, we use 2.5%. That's what we've been using. It's not in compliance
I'm
with the.
talking on the budget end of all of this.
Okay.
But see, there's two moving components here, because you got the budget and the financial management policy, but then you also got where I have to do the forecast. And I could just get an idea of what you want to use for the forecast, and we could always go back to that later. I mean, it's gonna have to be an action item, an amendment to the personnel policy, the financial
Regardless
management
of what
policy
we do.
anyways. So today, if you just give me something to use for the forecast, I could at least get going on that.
Okay.
And then we could discuss, obviously it'll be at a business meeting anyways, but we would discuss then the amendment to the financial management policy.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chairman, the hell with the forecast for a minute, because we're way past that point. We have a real budget to have on your desk in 7 weeks.
I appreciate that.
I don't mind staying a little bit longer. and finishing the
Historical
forecast.
Oh,
analysis.
yes,
to
you
me.
will. You'll let us know about it.
That's historical analysis.
I'll let you know about it,
It's the
but
one that works,
Which
cause
one,
cause it has to go.
You get,
Number 3, you're saying? Yeah.
number 3?
Yeah.
Minimum local contribution.
MLC works, they,
Okay. Escalator 3, is that good for
it's
everybody?
not for not everybody, but
Not
you
for
have,
everybody.
But for the forecast?
correct.
Okay.
Well, yeah,
Not the policy, just the forecast?
correct.
Okay.
Well, this is the real budget.
This is for the real budget,
This is for the real budget.
Yep.
not just for the forecast.
So you want to use
And I'm told you said everybody, not everybody
Not
wanted
everybody.
that,
Julie wants
to be
2.5%.
clear, so, but yes.
This is for the real
most-
budget.
That is correct.
Okay, not Escalator 3, okay.
Yep.
That's fair enough.
So I just want to make sure
Historical
the
MLC.
record will reflect that the consensus was to plan that the school budget will go up every year by the 5-year trailing increase, average trailing increase in the minimum local contribution.
Correct.
Can you please make sure it's in exactly that way? Okay.
Great. All right,
And
move-
we will be bringing you a February budget with a school assessment at 6 million. I'll double check our math. 899, and some change here, 896, and some short change.
896?
Well, we'll double check the math, but we'll be tipping 6.9 million.
Okay.
All right, moving on to personnel policy amendment for biweekly pay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I worked on this. What I did is I just pulled some of the language that we're gonna have to look at for the bi-weekly payroll. As you know, we had to, with our collective bargaining units, 2 of them are been settled. One, we have a side letter, so we can move forward with our bi-weekly, but we are gonna be able to start it. I need to put it in here, though, the language for July 1, 2020. The bi-weekly would go into effect. I didn't include that language. I just wanted you to see something that, before it comes to the board for action. This gives you an idea, because there's some other language in here, like timesheets must be signed. We do them electronically now, so I changed the language to strike signed approved by the department head to accept the hours worked, because it's literally electronically where we do it now. So that needed to be updated
Oh, I
as well
understand.
as the
Okay.
bi-weekly.
All right.
So that's why you
easy.
see the
That's easy.
language,
Yep,
yeah, you
got
see
it.
the language struck. that
Oh,
we-
strike through.
Yep, the
yeah.
strike-throughs, and then the additions, like the bi instead of weekly for the
Oh, right,
changes, and then
yeah.
I'll have to add,
It's in italics.
for the payroll period at the end of this, I would have to add, and that would be ready for your,
Okay, you don't-
excuse me, your regular meeting.
Next week.
Right, that was my question. Go on.
I did not think that every department was doing electronic.
Every
Um,
department has been voted to do electronic, yes.
Every department is doing, including police and fire?
Do you have a problem with that?
No, I didn't think that they were
Oh,
doing
you know
that.
what?
We
That's
just
wrong.
achieved, we
That,
achieved,
that's wrong.
I think
No,
we
no,
achieved that.
most departments are electronic.
Well, you can't have a personnel policy that says that every department has to be approved and accepted.
That's
This
that's
is
why-
wrong.
But you know what, we could do that, and then add additional language to those that aren't doing it.
Okay, well, this needs to be fixed.
I can fix it, it's no big deal.
Thank you.
But we still needed to include that different language for the departments that
I
did
understand
move
that,
over.
but this is incorrect.
It will be taken care
I
of.
take this personnel policy very seriously.
It's gonna be
On
fine,
left.
because there's the language that's still not in here, this is just a quick.
I did an
type up.
entire personnel policy that was thrown out by the lawyers, so this is wrong.
How many left do we have?
For collective bargaining?
No, like that don't do, bi-weekly.
She already announced it.
No, it's not that they don't do bi-weekly, they don't do electronic.
We have
That's what I meant.
We
That's
have
what
a
There are at
Three
least
or
two
four.
I
departments.
think that we have a plan.
Doesn't matter.
couple of major
send this out.
units. We continue to have discussions with them. I think that this will help roll it forward.
Still have to fix it.
A vast majority do it electronically, though.
I
But
don't
we-
accept that.
Well, we have to change that language, but
I
then
understand you have to
we
change
will
that
ha-
language, but you have to add some different language.
that will- I don't know why Carter keeps smiling.
Are you just laughing at me because I don't think it's right?
Because I knew it wasn't right, but I let it come through just to see how.
And that's why I said this was
I'm
a
sorry,
quick
it's not right.
draft. It's just a draft to look at and
Okay, fix
discuss
it.
at the workshop. So the final one
It's
will
not
be.
written in gold
You'll be
right
so
now,
happy
Tom.
at the final one, you're gonna just smile. Say, you know, I'm so
smiling
impressed
now.
with this personnel,
But, I mean, in all
Policy
seriousness,
amendment.
what is
I
the
know, in
difference
all-
between, like,
You know what
the
needs to be fixed, right?
signed and approved? If we're arguing over the language of,
I haven't finished reading it yet.
I mean,
This
he-
was-
Consider ourselves
Well,
lucky.
He put italics and, strike-through.
This-
for our
this-
benefit.
I'm not there
I
yet.
did.
All right.
This
could've-
was his first pass and it needs some amendment.
I'll let you
because
know when I'm done.
It needed some
I'm sure
work,
there'll be more.
But it was a good, good for him to present it.
and it was like I said, a quick.
I gotta,
Draft.
I mean.
I would
Diane, unless you're like,
Cut
you're
your
adamant.
losses and
you're- Should I wait for you to finish?
Oh, keep going.
Okay.
Do you want me to be quiet?
No,
I worked for a
I like
corporate
the way
lawyer.
that you go about your business. So,
No, you don't.
I guess I do. This is gonna be one of those meetings that people are gonna be like,
I'm sorry, I have the
go to
worst headache on
1.45.
earth.
That is true.
I
you're
I
smiling
feel like
through
I'm
it.
gonna
What's wrong
fall
with
off
that
the table.
headache?
Pardon?
So,
Pardon?
I'm sorry you have a headache.
timesheets must be signed, it used to be signed, it's
Thank you,
got a
Julie.
strike through, approved.
Right.
What would be the semantical difference in changing that, whether you're on electronic or a paper?
Well, they have to be approved, but they have to be signed by the departments.
Approved sign?
A record of time worked shall be approved by the department head.
I don't know, but
Because some are electronic, some are
Yeah.
paper, so it's a
Some are
record.
still paper.
So it's a record of
I
time
think
worked.
they can get to what they're looking for and still make sure that you
and they have to be signed by the
No,
departments.
no proof.
approved. What's the difference between approved and signed?
They're basically the
Why-
same
then
thing
why
in
are we
that
changing it?
sentence.
We have to change it.
Because,
Can you
well, the
verbally
electronic
approve
ones,
it?
actually, it encompasses that, the fact that you're approving it within a system.
Okay.
Can you verbally approve it, or you have to?
I understand what they're trying to do, though. I'm not trying to push back at what
Can't
you're
let that work.
saying. I'm just saying, I think the language is basically, what would be the right, updated. We're updating the language to be inclusive of electronic systems.
Verbal?
Not
No.
verbal.
Oh, that's,
Then they
yeah.
have to be signed.
Let us,
Electronically, they
let
still
us
have to be approved.
acknowledge that this needs some work. I think the message has gotten across.
Okay,
I think this was a great exercise. But let us give him if I would please ask you to give him a second chance to come back in with an improvement.
I can do that. Okay.
Thank you.
I do have one other matter that's come to my attention on the personnel policy, if I might. In the policy written versus tradition followed
Which always gets us in trouble.
gallery of all-star winners, I received a copy of a email that distributed what the mileage rate should be for the calendar year, and it just didn't feel right. So I read the personnel policy. And it is in conflict, the way you've been paying the mileage, with what the personnel policy is. The personnel policy says that you will pay the rate approved by the state, which is a several-page, union by union, work group by work group, obscure, difficult to find. I felt like Jeff digging through all the different pages, Googling and finding it, but I finally found it. If in fact the 17 issuance is still valid, I finally found it, and it's around 45 cents a mile, whereas the town has been honoring the IRS mileage rate.
The federal, is it like 50-something?
Varies, right.
December.
And that's not uncommon. That is the tradition in many communities, to simply follow
Adopt the
the
federal.
IRS, adopt the IRS policy. The difference being that in many communities, it says you'll take the January 1 rate, which is normally set by tax year, and you'll apply it to the following fiscal year, so that a department head doesn't end up with a spike of, well, it was 54 cents, but now all of a sudden it's 58.5, and I don't have that in my budget because I didn't budget for it. So I think we need to clean that up. That's another sort of, policy versus practice thing that we've found. And the question becomes, one, do you wish to stay with the policy, which is the state rate? Or do you wish to convert to the IRS rate? That's the first question. And the second question becomes, when will the annual year-to-year change trigger? Are you gonna actually trigger it on, January 1 with the IRS, or are you gonna trigger it on the fiscal year so that at least the department heads can plan? And we don't spend a lot of money on this, but I do still think it's important that the policy and the practice be consistent.
I think it should be the state, and it should be the state fiscal year.
I agree with Mike on that.
Is the state diligent? You lost me there for a second, because I think you said
It
2017.
is difficult to find, and I don't know how diligent they are about keeping it up. The edition that I found was a 2017. It's just not a prominent state document. You
Yeah.
gotta dig through a dozen departments, and you can easily get confused because they change the mileage rate, let's say for Medicare travel, and they change the mileage rate for that program and this program. And you have to really get into administration and finance and find the issuance for this particular document.
Yeah. I'm in favor of using a state. As a municipality, I'm in favor of using a state
assessed rate. Assessed is probably the wrong word. Calculated.
Set.
Yeah. I worry about making sure that it's accessible, and if it does take pages, because there are different considerations, if that becomes too difficult to manage, like like, I have to use this one, or this union says I have to use this one or something, I get that, but I'm in favor of state resources rather than using a federal rate. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about that, well, other than Julie.
We're using the state one now? We are using the state one,
No,
and
we are
that's
not using the state one now. The
No.
policy says we will,
Oh, the
but we're
policy says-
following the federal IRS
Federal
rate
IRS.
and have
Yeah,
historically.
that was his point, that when Kelly emailed out, was using
Yeah, the
a
policy
federal
says
rate.
that we're using
And,
the state,
and
but
how
then.
many of our town employees actually use this reimbursement process?
I don't know the answer.
Usually variable. I think it like becomes
I
like an
mean, 'cause
on-call
I
thing.
think
Some people probably use it more than others.
Yeah, but I don't think that it's a huge,
It's, I'd have to go
Within
back through the
departments,
budget,
but
but it's,
yeah.
Makes
it's
sense
not.
to me to be a
it's not
state.
huge, right? No, I didn't think it was utilized hugely in town, but,
I mean, I'm gonna tell you, it's probably in the mid four-figure range.
Right.
Across the whole organization, 5,000 plus or minus.
so you go with the federal, 10 cents more than you go with the state, and what do we have in our budget? So I would say, I recommend state.
You know, I like it just procedurally.
Procedurally, it's
Yeah.
easier too.
And it's it's in our policy, and we're not following our policy.
Yeah, it's similar to the other, that's why we're here.
So the people that are utilizing it will take a little bit of a hit.
I mean,
Yeah, you could say it like that.
there's not much conflicting language outside of that, so you did a good job with
But
it.
why would I be using a federal rate over a state rate?
Right.
And I'm a municipality, you know, I'm not,
And since
Right.
it's in our policy, why aren't we following our own policy? It seems like a problem
Because we
here.
don't read it.
That's why we're coming in front of the board
Yeah.
and letting you know.
Just seems like our town doesn't always
I
do what
read
we
our
wanna do.
policies.
We say we're gonna do things, and then we don't do them.
But we tell you.
Thank you. So I would
Did anybody
say,
read the personnel policy? Maybe not.
I would say state.
I've
Okay.
read the personnel policy, did you hear me?
Carter, you got 3 for state so far.
Because I was pissed.
So the record will reflect to bring you an
So moved.
At
amendment.
least 3 right now.
Okay.
But I've read it.
I spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours working on
I
it.
know.
So the state,
For them to just go,
you wanna do the state one?
Well, at least we have 3 for right now. If we want to go back, I mean, if we
Everybody
can
voted.
circle
Yep.
back
Yeah, okay.
as a workshop.
Yeah, it's a
All right,
workshop.
moving along, just a general discussion on our legislative packet and FY 21
oh,
budget.
sorry. I didn't mean to say that,
Right now, basically, we're in our first sit-down reviews.
but that will have to be edited.
Jackie-
With department heads or?
Yeah, Jackie just came in today with the
Okay.
community services departments. Obviously, recreation studies being discussed with the Recreation Commission. Then Scott Dill came in and presented his first sit-down budget, which she will be going and reviewing, as well as the library came in, cable, and senior services. So those 4 have already been discussed, a first review, and these meetings will continue through the month of January. So that's where we're at in the early stages of the budget. And we will keep you posted.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I cannot wait to go through another budget cycle.
This one's gonna be bigger, I think.
I'm right there
Carter's
on
shooting for
board with
500
Diane on
pages this
that
year.
one.
This one's gonna
It'll
be
be
more
my
painful.
7th, no
too.
8. I'm excited. I love those big budget books.
500 pages, you
It's
want
gonna-
500.
What?
454 wasn't enough last year,
feel like
458, he had to
Still
hit the
carry mine
5.
around.
Bob Marley and Scrooge.
Oh,
He wants more information out there.
Month-long one, I
Kill
mean,
a lot of
the
trees.
Saturday.
Oh, my God.
That's it with the budget, and I'm not sure if Carter's taking the special. time.
Well, yeah,
Or the
I'd ask
budget.
the chair to brief the board on the
Excuse me.
state of school
Okay.
discussions, and then I do have some items to bring up.
All right. All right, you know that the chairs met on, Amy Guthrie came. She was present for this meeting because we had asked if they would like to participate.
So we had Anne Marie, Margaret, Amy, Carter, Chris came in a tiny bit late, and myself. Phillipston, Kevin tried to make it, did we ever find out what happened?
We did not.
Okay, and then Kim could not be there as well. So we met over at the school department, and our next meeting is for February, and then we have, actually, I have a lot more notes. We talked about what we were going to be doing up until that point, and I had a couple of things where I really wanted to get back to the original. I think we got off a topic a little bit, because we were talking about what's gonna happen at future meetings, like the all boards meeting, 27 January. That's the tri-board meeting where we all get together. I believe that's a Monday at 5 o'clock. And they have, they talked about, they have a Mars consulting group that actually specifically has you pay for it, but they come in and they do consulting. They'll look at the school district agreement, and it's like having a study done. They'll look through it, they'll make recommendations, they'll find things, it's like the equivalent of putting your car up on the lift and giving it a checkup, and then making any recommendations on what you can do to improve it. They said that, now Margaret gave full disclosure, she is on the Mars board, and that's part of what Mars as an association does. But they said they would come in on the 27th January. I think they said about a 15-minute presentation, where they would say this is what we can do for looking at a school agreement. Now, they said that they've done this for 20 other districts, with a lot of recommendations being incorporated. But some of the school districts were like, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. They were not happy with what the product that they gave them. I would presume that it is a written product back that you get. So I thought we got a little bit off topic, because instead, what this group is for paying attention to the short-term needs, which is what the heck are we doing for the FY21 budget, so that we do not have to go through, I think you used the word crisis. No, you used the word crisis for a while back, but basically going through a budget battle like that before. I kind of countered with that to say, rather than talking about opening and amending the agreement, what are we doing in the short term, the affects that we can predetermine for the FY21 budget? So I mentioned efficiencies, cast-off costs, merging costs. And I think everyone agreed with that, but I don't think we talked, I kind of was pushing a little bit to talk about it. Carter might have wanted to throw me out of the window when I started talking about, whose cost is the state resource officer. Now, I forgot that Margaret had brought that up as a sore subject, as a contract that they have with the resource officer. And I was considering as a cast-off cost to say if we could pull that out of their budget. I fully realized that goes within our budget, and that's why I think why Carter was quiet, let Margaret talk through her pieces of it. But that's the kind of things that I thought that group was designed to do, was to come up with items to basically say, yes, this would affect it. Let's try and share a janitor. I'm being very general right now. So I kind of said, before our next meeting, I would like people to come back, or at least email or collect those kind of ideas. All right, moving on. We talked about some of the countdown dates. The governor's state of the state is 21 January. You probably might know more than me that what comes out of that are some tangibles, like like you can get cherry sheets available the next day. There's known
Usually within a day or
information.
two, yeah.
Right. So the governor's state of the state is the 21 January. That's prior to our tri-board meeting. DESI also, right after that, has their minimum local contribution announcements. So those are some key items that'll happen within this next month. The school department, the school district budget hearing is 26 February. The next school committee meeting is 14 January, and that's in Phillipston. And they have quite a lot, I wrote in my note here, they have quite a lot on the agenda. I think that we talked about, I think we asked for a copy, they kind of pushed, not pushed back, but they said, yes, it's already published. So wherever you know that you can get your school documents, they're out there, is what they are telling me. So that's this coming up this next week. SOA, I wrote that down somewhere else. Sorry, I'm trying to read my own writing. Carter, if I wrote SOA, what would I mean?
Student Opportunity.
Student Opportunity Act.
Student Opportunity Act will not get to us in a meaningful way, so how it's passed and otherwise, we're really not gonna see any tangible help for where we are in Templeton. The group talked about 495 belt, that sort of thing, about, it's just not getting out to rural communities. FY19 and FY20 supplements, Chris talked about, he's heard some items about the FY19 supplement, but he's heard just as much about the FY20 supplement. I mean, where does the money go in if they haven't announced FY19 supplements, if they announce it or it's realized, where does it go?
It just flows into their E&D.
So that's good to.
So if they get an extra 15 or 20,000 for
Yep.
busing, it just, like any receipt in excess of revenues, it just flows
Okay.
to free cash E&D.
Margaret's long-term planning committee, so that's a subcommittee of the school committee. They meet on Monday, and they will look at capital items. So again, I kept bringing up the cast-off stuff. What is everyone looking at so we can, some of the things in this past year, I said maybe we could have helped you if we had communicated earlier. So they're looking at their long-range committee for items that they possibly could look at and say, we would like to help with this. Now, in full disclosure, I said, that means that you're participating in our capital cycle, not you just send me a memo when it's done. Right? I know, it is funny.
I'm sorry, but
Yeah.
they have to participate.
That's right.
They can't just send us a memo.
Yep.
I mean, they have to participate.
Some of the other ideas, this is, again, what I was excited about hearing about. Carter, who was talking about visiting nurse?
That'd be me.
That's funny. That's horrible that I would say that. So visiting nurse, do you want to talk about that at all? I probably should have put your name down.
Well, we just talked about how sometimes partnering with others, in this instance, the town actually dissolved its VNA and merged with another unit, saving roughly $250,000 a year over the 3-year fade-out. But I had lunch with the executive director here during the holidays, and to hear about the quantum increase in their services and what they've been able to do shows one opportunity to continue to deliver the service, not only deliver the service, but deliver a dramatically better service at a substantially lower cost through partnering and the strength of partners.
Right.
So I think that one of the things we just wanted to, the band, a great, no real money saver, but, what a great way to bring the band back. That article last, was it this Monday in the Gardner News? So, I think one of the things we want to keep our eye on organizationally across the board and not lose sight of anywhere is the opportunity to partner. We don't have to deliver every service physically ourselves. There are other ways to do things.
All right.
Jeff and I will continue that debate next Tuesday. Philosophical discussion, not a
Oh my
debate.
gosh, you and Jeff.
philosophical- Well, I told him we had to do some of this one-on-one because I held the laptop on my, I had the laptop on me as I was typing a response, and it was there long enough that I burnt my stomach.
I have to be honest, I love how much homework Jeff does, and he keeps you on your toes.
It does.
He keeps us on our toes, too.
I'm certainly, yeah, I thought that was a really good presentation that you had, but apparently I remembered as a presentation, not that you gave it. It's horrible.
Rarely do I fade into the shadows, but
I-
that's okay.
Time and place for everything, I guess. Carter did go into a discussion of district agreement amendments such as the lease, capital minimums, capital minimum in the agreement now is $5,000, so we talked about, there were discussions for and against it, basically protecting yourself so it's not so high, but also at the same time have it reflect reality and current values. And some of that stuff out there, control items for automated systems are quite expensive, so to have it reflect actually what equipment costs. Budget dates, making sure that we ask the school for their draft ahead of what the agreement states, which I think is the end of March, or the end of February.
End of March,
End
March
of March.
31, yeah.
Basically, taking a look at years where there's personnel turnover and otherwise, but to make sure that we have enough time with their document, essentially giving us two additional weeks than what we have right now. And then we had a couple other discussions again of efficiencies, video production, I know Monty Tech opened a new veterinarian school. The idea is that we could have the same kind of shop. And it was funny because the conference room that we were sitting in used to be the shop, and that was the middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But we used to be there in the shop, so we talked about incentivizing, school choice is good for us, then incentivize our schools to say, you can come to Templeton and you can train with the industry, you can figure out video production and otherwise, but some of those ideas we kind of discussed. Chris had to leave a little bit earlier, and I think we were well over our time limit at that point. It was about a 90-minute meeting when we were designed to meet for an hour. So, that's my report. I think the most significant items is school agreement, or the regional agreement discussion, some of the dates that we're leading to, and some of the things that the school committee is in favor of or not in favor of.
My one question is, when you said the Mars study, who pays for that? You said
We would pay for
the
that.
town.
That's a good question.
Generally, the district pays for it.
Yeah.
The
I would-
district.
Whoever would be asking for it.
So when you say whoever, meaning if we ask for it, we pay, if they ask for it, they pay.
No.
Well, it all comes out of our budget.
Yeah, I mean, their
We
money.
give them their budget,
Okay.
pretty much.
She didn't give any quotes or
it's-
anything, but I'm sure that we can discuss that. I thought it was, a nice thing, a good thing to kind of include in our kit bag, our tool bag, to say, we have lots of different things going on right now. We've got this meeting that I attend. We did push over, I know that our last meeting, we pushed forward the ad hoc charter so they could reflect on it. You could get a study from an external, like Mars. So there's a lot of different things to basically answer some of the questions that we have.
Mike, this just like dawned on me, and I'm pretty sure that Jeff might remember this too. It was mentioned by Lori Mattson about doing, in their financial policy, about not using E&D money. Do you remember that, Jeff, at a meeting? that they were gonna bring that up and say in their financial policy, like we say, like we can't use free cash for certain things, that they were gonna put in there, they were gonna do a, financial policy where they were not gonna use E&D money, so I just wanted you to be made aware of that.
Okay.
So just know that that might be on their horizon.
Okay.
Because they do use up their E&D money, pretty much.
Are you available on the 14th?
Say again,
Are you available on the 14th for their meeting?
14th of February?
No, January, for their next meeting. If,
Is it during the day? I don't know,
it's in Phillipston.
I am looking
'Cause
for a
we-
job,
Okay.
for during the day, so
Okay.
I probably won't have
All right.
readily available access at the moment.
Okay.
I can let you know, though.
Sure.
So, January,
We had told them that,
I just wanted you to know that that was
Yeah.
mentioned,
Okay.
at a couple of meetings that I had been to, like, last year, and that it was brought up that they should, like, we have that as part of our policy, that they should have that as part of their policy.
Okay.
So, just.
I understand what you're saying.
So they want to, whether or not they're looking at that this year, but that was mentioned. So just know that, I mean, that's usually a good, you know, it was 500,000, it was 400,000, it was, I mean, they have a good chunk of change in there. Not like we do, obviously, but I mean, we can't use our free cash because we have a policy. And we promised townspeople that we wouldn't do that.
but, so are you saying that Lori
I just-
offered that as a,
As a policy, she wanted
Alright.
to do it as policy. So she mentioned that a couple of times.
no?
So that could be coming down the pike, even though that hasn't been mentioned at any of your meetings. That might be a question that you want to ask.
I'm just wondering if she offered it, well, if they're gonna have a policy against
Well,
using
I'm not
their free
saying,
cash, we're gonna develop a,
Sound like now it's out.
she
That's what it
had written it down and she had brought it up for discussion.
okay.
So whether or not I haven't been able to
I think I
attend,
would like
any meetings.
very much to discuss that if, but
So
only if, you know, during their meetings, I mean, it would be during their meeting that they would offer
Right,
that.
so I think that, I just want this board
Okay.
to be aware that that had been brought on a couple of
Thank you,
occasions.
okay.
You know, like I said, I think that was meetings that Jeff and I had attended.
Yep.
I know one was in the, library,
Okay,
when we were in the library.
yep.
But, you know, they definitely had brought it up, and one was in the Kiva,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. I know one was definitely in the
I
library.
think that it'll come out why, you know, we don't do it maliciously in our, we don't put that into our policy maliciously. It's there for a purpose because it's not, it's, a capital item is non-reoccurring. Most
Right.
capital items are non-reoccurring. You're not
Right.
talking about an operating expense, so.
Right. I'm not saying, I just wanted you to be aware of that, and that was something that, I had definitely heard, and I think that, you know, whether that makes good financial sense, it's
Okay.
not up to me to decide what
Okay.
they do as a committee. We don't tell them what to do, just like they don't tell us what to do.
Sure.
That's not what I'm saying, I just wanted you to be fully aware of that.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay.
The only thing that we have left is, you've got a copy of the special town meeting on the 15th. I am not headed overseas tomorrow, so I will be here for that. The current situation in the Middle East prevents me from going to that spot.
Okay. Makes me nervous.
Yes.
I did have some updates on the 21 budget, if I might.
Okay.
So first, our major hope for, to provide a buffer by joining the Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust has not
Yeah.
borne fruit. They have rejected our membership at this point, a large part because we can't provide true cost data. When you are under 100 members, Blue Cross Blue Shield will not give you claims data. So we've made an appeal to Maya, have proposed that we offer an amendment to the rules, which I said I would be glad to present at the annual luncheon. Although we clearly know that's not the place they would want us to do it.
Of course.
So we'll continue to work on that. The broker consultant is putting together a package to see if we can get competitive quotations from other carriers. We'll look at other joint purchase groups. And we'll look at the benefit platform again, but I would suspect that we'll be looking at the standard, 4, 5, 6% increase on the insurance side as opposed to a 4, 5, 6, 10% drop on the insurance side. Secondly, the reason you're going to see some substantial revisions coming out of the Community Services Department, particularly on the senior services, you will see the elimination of the monies for the Meals on Wheels and a partnership with GAAMHA. They will provide that service at $0 to us. That means we don't have to replace our vehicle, which has been redlined for several months now. Fuels, driver, we're looking at $10,000+ savings, while continuing to provide the service to the community. I'm not sure that you're gonna see any dramatic changes in the MART side of the house. I think that that's just gonna take us more time to work through what that means and how that might be implemented. We did a couple of months ago meet with MART and talk about this whole matter of dispatching. It's insane that someone in, Templeton calls us and they need to go to Boston, and we drive right straight past Westminster when, in fact, there may be somebody in Westminster that needed to go to Boston that day. It's nuts. So we've now supported 2 grant applications to MDOT for demonstration projects of different types of more centralized dispatch, so that if Winchendon gets a call and Westminster gets a call, and whatever communities are in that system, Winchendon's coming through Templeton, they can pick that person up and they can pick the person up in Westminster and go on. So how that's all going to shake out also through GAAMHA, there are various insurance providers, Fallon and others, who actually pay for the transportation. So that means it comes off our books. It's dispatched completely differently. So you will see some changes. I just want you to bear in mind that the annual challenge will be a little bit tougher. The appropriation for schools at 4.63%, the trailing average of the net minimum will mean roughly $70,000 more we squeeze out of the general fund side to meet that school funding. We will bring you that formal amendment at your meeting of the 29th, because February 4, in the joint meeting, we kind of set as a target for us to share with the schools what our planned increase was. And by then, we will know Student Opportunity Act, we'll know cherry sheet, we'll know lots of other things. So that come, if I had these dates right, Mike, was that the Tuesday, February 4?
For which one?
For us?
Yes,
And then we'll be able to brief the board on February 5.
that is correct.
As to what all those numbers are, so we can hopefully have some agreement at the beginning of the process. Finally, Representative Goby, shows how long I've known her, I guess. Senator Goby, Representative Whips will be attending your meeting Monday night. This is an opportunity for them to tell us what's going on, and for us to ask them some specific questions. We start that process tomorrow morning. It's a little narrower time frame than normal because of moving the meeting, but we will be asking the department heads if they have legislation, regulation, grant program, something of concern to them. And we will shoot off over the weekend to them, just kind of a short list of items so they can do whatever prep. One of the things that will be of interest to us, I think, we shared with you the MMA letter. Just seems like a small item, but if FY '20 on the state pilot had been hold harmless from FY '19, that would have meant $35,000 more revenue to the community. So that's kind of where we're at this point, and there's really not
That's
much
good,
more
that's good feedback.
we can tell you about right now. And the reason that we appreciate you taking some time with the GAAMHA folks tonight, because we didn't want to show up on whatever it is, February 27, take the sheets off the oak tag and have you say, you know, where did this come from? At least now you have an opportunity to think about them, and who they are and what they are, why we're moving in that direction.
All right. So everyone knows 13th is Monday, and we'll have both Senator Goby and Representative Whips with us. Holly, the agenda for that will probably come out tomorrow, okay. Any feedback from the clerk? Are we all set for the 15th?
We have some advice for you from council, if you'd like us to share that.
All right, yep, that's the last item on the agenda. What do you got?
So the petitioner did not include the phrase or take any other action related thereto, and our first question to them was, is it amendable? And the council's advice is that although there's sort of been this artifice that's been created by DOR and the AG's office and others to put on the or take any other action required to amend it, it really becomes a moderator's call. And so we leave that to him to determine
Okay.
if amendments. We'd also,
I thought that there would be, you mean any amendment at all?
any amendment,
Okay,
yeah.
I thought there would be an amendment.
Yeah, look at a warrant, any place in the state, and it always, well, everyone I've ever looked at has or take any other reaction there too, so my first question was, it's not there, can they amend it? And he was sort of like, it's gonna be the moderator's call. Secondly, we had talked with him about, there's no numbering, there's no, where does this thing go? And I think his reaction was that it's truly not ready for prime time, but it's a citizen's petition. The meeting will do what the meeting will do. Let it come back from the AG, and then, when it comes back, we'll take whatever comments they have, and then we'll put a numbering system to it and take it back, if the meeting should choose to pass it.
Is the advisory council gonna be talking about this tomorrow night, and I believe they are, the special town meeting is tomorrow, they're talking about the pre-town meet.
The bylaw does require a pre-town meeting,
That's
before
tomorrow.
every meeting, and I do believe they've scheduled something for tomorrow
It
night.
is, and would this be helpful information for them?
This is the warrant.
I know it is, but what Carter was just saying from the town council, say I went and offered some things.
I think they're holding it just to comply with the bylaw.
They're not gonna make a recommendation.
I don't think they're gonna comment on a citizen's
They're
petition.
not a legal body. I mean,
But-
that they can't,
I mean,
they're not,
you
they're not
even- They could
have
legal
people come and
counsel,
talk
they're
about
not.
You even said, we don't have a dump anymore, so that might need a change.
I agree with that.
I don't think they, I
I-
don't know if they
uh,
make
so-
comments on citizens petitions.
Suggestion of council is, it's a citizen's petition. You need to go to the meeting, stand down, let this meeting do what the meeting's gonna do.
But, no, I mean, there's nothing preventing you from saying, hey,
Right.
this is what town
This
council
is-
said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what
I
we
agree,
talked about as a board, right, on
Sure.
cable,
Yeah.
so it's no secret.
right,
Right.
yeah.
I will say that amendments offered on the floor often just create more problems, because
Right.
they're done on the fly, in the back of an envelope, without a lot of time for consideration.
That's why I thought the advisory
Okay.
council would meet pre-town to talk about things like this, so that didn't happen.
But they are, the pre-town meeting's
Well, they
tomorrow.
are.
Yeah.
And they're gonna talk about this, but what we're saying is, they normally don't make recommendations on this type of stuff.
Yeah.
So they're probably not going to have a recommendation tomorrow. That's what our thought is. But what you're asking is, well, would they make a recommendation if they had the council's, idea on it? Or what I said about, a lot of this is a copy-paste from the last one, and it's not really written to be going in
Kind
the
of like
fu-
getting the word out there that this needs work. And we are concerned, and we want to work with what they're offering us.
Yeah, that time is way past, though.
I know,
Yeah.
but at the same
There's the
time,
warrant.
the conversation started anyway.
But I also, so I agree with my statement before, it's amendable, so that stuff in there is amendable, but I also, from what Carter just said, that is true. Floor amendments could create confusion, and if not, I mean, if 10 people show up that are concerned about this, maybe you hash it out within a floor amendment. And I'm not advocating for anything. If you have 200 people show up and everyone's got an idea on how they can amend it, it's going to be much more difficult to try and get something good coming out of this. But like, to reiterate the town council, it's a citizen petition. It is what it is, and if it makes it through, it's gonna go to the AG is gonna make recommendations and otherwise. And how it looks right now, it's just, like I said, the characterization that I had was that it was a copy-paste of the old one, and was not progressive of what the town was really thinking it should be. That should make sense to you.
Up to snuff,
Yeah, like going forward, right.
right, 2020.
Mike, I hate to do this, but I messed up on the FY '21 budget.
You messed up on the,
What?
everyone, okay.
Yeah, I had my pile in front of me and I didn't touch on one of the items.
Go ahead.
I'll
I think we were done with that.
I'll try to keep this simple. You know, we have a couple of part-time positions, treasure collector's office, development services, and we've been unable to fill them for several months now, many months now. We went out to the marketplace once, we've been out to the marketplace
we know.
twice. And we are faced with the prospect where we have to either continue to leave them vacant, which is causing problems in Lori's office. I mean, the mistake the other day was, quite frankly, not enough time, trying to do too many things, and she forgot a step. Not to blame her for anything, it's just, we had to cancel a meeting and reschedule it, 'cause not enough time. So we are going to re-interview at 2 new applicants. We're gonna re-interview over the next week or two, but we may be faced with the prospect, Sturbridge recently had to do it, where we have to combine the positions and run the risk that somebody needs benefits. One of the candidates, if they're interested, does not, one does. We'll interview these 2 new applicants on the part-timers, but I just needed you to be aware about it. And if anyone has any real concerns, well, I have concerns. But the marketplace is what the marketplace is, and I'd be happy to talk with anybody about it, you know, one-on-one, offline.
Okay.
But I wanted
Yeah,
to
I wouldn't mind talking.
get that out there.
I don't like that idea at all. I'll discuss that with you.
Sure. Happy to. Thank you.
Yep. Got nothing else on the agenda. Are there any, I gave you my report from my meeting the other day. A little bit of a break. Our next meeting is the 13th. Pre-town meeting is tomorrow night. Anything else from the board?
Happy New Year to everyone.
Absolutely.
2020. We didn't have a meeting.
Sign your checks 2020.
I know.
That's what I
I've
heard.
been dating everything
the
2019. I'm
rumor.
like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Ladies, anything? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I didn't know we
So
had a
moved.
It's a regular meeting, it's just because it's a,
workshop.
yeah.
Second.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It carries.